This is Mag. Let's talk about her. Her passive ability is magnetic attraction. Mag pulls nearby pickups towards her when bullet jumping. It's pretty much a built-in vacuum. It's pretty useful. There's not really a lot to say about this ability. You pick shit up off the ground. That's it. Let's move on. Mag's first ability is Pull. Magnetic force pulls enemies toward you, stunning them and bringing them into melee range. This ability is pretty straightforward. It pulls enemies towards you, ragdolling them. Also a great way of disrupting enemy fire. But what you probably didn't know is that enemies that are killed by Pull have an increased chance of dropping an energy orb, which is useful because Mag, like any other frame, relies on her abilities. So when you're low on energy, be sure to finish off your targets with Pull. Her second ability is Magnetize. Mag creates a magnetic field around a target, ensnaring nearby enemies and dealing damage over time, while it slowly drags all enemies in its range. Bullets or projectiles that enter the field will be redirected to its center, multiplying the damage by 200%. Additionally, the field absorbs the damage from all redirected projectiles and deals it as damage per half second to all enemies within it. If the initial target dies while magnetized, the field destabilizes and explodes at the end of its duration. Yeah, it's a pretty complicated ability. But what you basically have to know is that it makes a bubble that anchors enemies in place, and bullets that go in the bubble gets redirected into its center, and when the ability's duration ends it explodes. This ability is great for getting rid of clumps of enemies. Are you still awake? Good. But don't think the complication ends here, because this third ability is a Hoozy. Her third ability is Polarize. Mag emits an energy pulse that depletes enemy shields and armor, creating shards which become deadly when mixed with Magnetize. Additionally, Mag and her allies' shields are restored when touched by the pulse, so you must be wondering what the shards do, and why does it become deadly when mixed with Magnetize? Well, I'll tell you. First of all, let's talk about her shards. See these things laying on the ground? Those are the shards. The pulse made by Polarize deals 400 damage to enemy's shield and armor. That damage is then multiplied by 250%, and stored in these glowing shards on the ground. These shards can be attracted by Magnetize, like in Projectile, meaning more damage. And more damage means more murder, and more murder means less enemies. So yes, it's a good interaction. What I like to do is magnetize the enemies first, then polarize them, so that the shards drop while inside the bubble. Her final ability is Crush. Mag suspends her victims in the air, then forcefully dropping them into the ground, and deals more damage to enemies affected by Magnetize. This ability is good for crowd control, even more so if you apply its Augment mod. It's also a good way to stop enemies from attempting to murder you for a while. So use this ability when you can't handle the heat, which will happen quite often as Mag. Mag deals a good amount of damage, and has an exceptional amount of CC, but she's really squishy, so you always have to keep moving in order to stay alive. And for extra precaution, you can bring a sustain weapon with you. I personally prefer the Haruto, and hit magnetized enemies, since they can't fight back while they're magnetized, and you can hit them and restore health without the risk of getting too close and dying. She also runs out of energy quite fast, so I suggest applying Rage, or Hunter's Adrenaline to compensate. For my final verdict, Mag is a good frame, and quite underrated. She can control crowds of enemies while also dishing out a good amount of damage. Definitely worthy for high-level content, if you can keep her alive for more than 3 seconds, that is. I'll give her a 7 out of 10. See you later, alligator.